Do you know that voice that tells you that you're not enough? You know that voice that says, no matter what you do, it's never going to be enough. Well, today we're going to look at understanding where that voice comes from and transforming that voice to be your greatest teacher and to show you more about yourself. So, hey guys, and welcome to my channel where we look at unveiling your inner charisma one insight at a time. So, when you're ready, grab your journals and let's begin. I'm curious. Know what imposter syndrome is? And even more so, feel free to share in the comments, what percentage of the population do you think experiences imposter syndrome? Now, you may or you may not be shocked or surprised to know that actually 65% of the population has imposter syndrome. So that's more than 50% of people. I myself fit into that category, and maybe you do watching this video. And this is really what we're looking at, is understanding what is imposter syndrome and some tips and tricks that we can implement into our daily practice to begin to connect more with who we authentically are so we can unleash that inner charisma. Now, Catherine Hawley, PhD, there we go, defines imposter syndrome as a disconnect, a cognitive dissonance between the success that you have in the external world and the belief in yourself that you have. So I've worked with a lot of managers who, might be managers, they might be CEOs, they're very successful outside. Even they might even say that people think that they're amazing and they come to them for advice. So they're perceived as successful on the outside, but on the inside, they really believe that who they are is not enough. They believe that they are inadequate. I think we can all resonate with that feeling where sometimes we just feel that actually we are not adequate. And it's that feeling that creates that lack of confidence that we often see, is because it's evolutional. If you think about it, what happens if somebody catches you out? Now, the thought itself is not the problem, because everyone, well, 65% of the population, but we all have those moments when we feel that we're not enough, right? So the thought and the feeling itself is not a problem. The problem is when we begin to identify with the label of imposter syndrome. Now, you can imagine, as you know, that when you feel inadequate, there is that feeling of anxiety and stress. I'm going to be caught out, or I'm going to maybe lose my job, or people are going to see that I'm not good enough, all those thoughts that we have. And what happens when the problem is when we start to believe in that label and we begin to identify, because when we take on that label, the cycle continues within itself. So really what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to stop that cycle. Because if you think about it, the word imposter, what does the word imposter mean? So imposter to me means cheat, it means fraud. Now, a lot of psychologists believe that the energy underneath all of these feelings is the feeling of shame. The feeling of shame. Now, Gabor Mate says that there is nothing wrong with that feeling, but it's about, the problem is when we feel ashamed of who we are, not what we do. So sometimes we get things wrong, we're not perfect, and we're always learning and growing. But when we start to feel ashamed of who we are as a person, that's when the problem kicks in. So what's my first tip for you today? My first tip is for you to give yourself the space to identify those thoughts and then to tap into the body. Now, what we want to do, the first tip, is really to become grounded in the body. Drop the energy from the head into the heart. Because remember what I said is when you are in that cycle of belief that this is your identity, that's when you can't express your true charisma, because you are expressing from that space of fear deep within. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to drop the energy from our head and we want to bring it into our body. Our body is the most beautiful gift that we have to be able to reconnect with who we authentically are. So dropping the energy from the head to the heart. And then the second tip is to embrace vulnerability. Embracing vulnerability being okay with a thought and a feeling. You are not your thought, you are not your feeling, that's not your identity. Okay, so being okay, embracing vulnerability, and then looking at adopting a curiosity mindset. So being curious about, so when you've dropped into your heart, ask yourself the question, where does this fear come from? And now what you're doing is you're asking your heart, you're not asking your mind, and you're saying, right, where does this fear come from? How old is this fear? And when you ask yourself that question, you need to give yourself the space to be able to listen. Now, it might not be when you've asked the question, but trusting that your heart is going to give you the answer. It's not necessarily going to happen straight away, but it could take 3 days, it could take 3 years, but it's about being open to hearing what your heart has to say. So I'm curious. For us, it's all about unveiling your inner charisma, one insight at a time. So what was that one insight for you today that you thought, okay, this is something interesting for me. This is something that has unveiled for me. I'd love to share. And by sharing in the comments, you're also supporting the community. So share in the comments what your insight is. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to subscribe. Not only are you going to continue the journey with me, but you really will be supporting me in growing my channel. So what are the 3 exercises that I am going to invite you to look at today? Right. 3 exercises that you can choose. And I'd like you to share in the comments which exercise you're going to implement. So exercise number 1 is a presence exercise. I'm going to share the link to the video above and down, a guided meditation that I created. So the invitation is when you're looking at presence exercises, it's sort of what I was talking about is dropping the energy from the head into the body. So really connecting with how to stay present and how to stay vulnerable, how to be in the moment, how to be in the body so that you can create from that space. So the first exercise is being present, creating that intention for your day. Number 1, that you're going to be present. Number 2 is self-acceptance affirmations. Again, I'm going to share a link above and below the guided meditation I created with this to help you on this with this exercise. But again, this is about setting that intention for yourself that you are going to affirm that I am enough. I am worthy just the way that I am. And Louise Hay often talks about this with regards to, her mirror work, doing some mirror work where you look at yourself when you brush your teeth, moving forward, you're looking at yourself in your eyes and you're saying, I see you and I love you and I honor you. So number 2 is self-love affirmations. And number 3 is morning gratitude. Again, I'll share a link above and below, but maybe doing some journal prompts where you're looking at really realigning that confidence within yourself. So remember I said to you that you need to create that space for your heart to give you that guidance. So you can listen to my guided meditation where I talk through some prompts, or what you can do is you can just sit with yourself and you can connect with that part of yourself and just, ask yourself some questions and allow your heart to unfold the answers that you're needing. So I'm curious, which of the 3 would you like to implement? Number 1, presence exercises. Number 2, self-love affirmations. Or number 3, our morning confidence journal prompts. Would love to hear in the comments below. Before we end, remember, guys, that you are not your doubts. Your doubts do not define you. They are your teacher, and they will always be showing you where you need to grow so that you can connect more with who you authentically are. Thank you so much for joining me. I have really enjoyed this video with you today. Feel free, feel free to subscribe and like, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video where we unveil your inner charisma, one insight at a time. Take care, guys. Mwah. Bye.